don't gain, they fight in vain. Show them what you can do. Show them what you can do. Please show them what you can do. I said, in this parade, please wave your grades at the brave who fight for you. If you don't gain, they fight in vain. Show them what you can do. Show them what you can do. Please show them what you can do. Good afternoon and welcome once again to Wave Your Grades on KUAW.org, emanating from the W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center in Kansas City, Missouri, where Louis George Walker is founder. He has graced us with his presence as engineer and producer on our Saturday programs, 1 until 2 p.m., Wave Your Grades. My name is Carl Boyd. I am your civilian host of a program that features young people dedicating their excellence to those who have served and those who are serving in America's military. Therefore, we say wave your grades, not just wave the flag, but wave your grades, wave your leadership, or wave your community services, or wave your excellence, wave your dedication to making things better. Now, let me tell you what's already better. I already feel better because it is the first Saturday of the month. And those of you who are with us each week, all 7 of you, will recognize that this is the day where our audience increases because we have the Smart Club, because we have Attorney Valencia brought us. Today, we also have someone she brought us, Paris Holly. So thank you very much to Wave Your Grades. Valencia brought us. Please get us started.
Good morning. Good morning. And so my name is not Ms. Sherry Tahid, but let me just tell you quickly about Ms. Sherry Tahid, only since her name is there. She is a community health worker and works with SWOPE. She happened to be, I was fortunate enough to be her instructor at Metropolitan Community College. I'm a community health worker instructor, and community health workers are so important because basically they're like kind of the moms or dads on the block that everybody goes to for help from when we was real little. But now they get training and stuff, and just your everyday lay people in the neighborhood, or with degrees or not, but we can get training on really how to navigate resources and people and connection in the community. So I came over to SWOPE after I was at this other event I'll tell you about in a minute, and saw Miss Sherry, seeing what she's doing over here, helping a lot of our young parents and families to navigate systems, whether it's, WIC or like breastfeeding or health, nutrition, all of that. So she allowed me so that I wouldn't have to miss anything to come into her office, and share. So that's the reason I'm here, but wanted to make sure I'm visiting my students, these leaders in the community, that once we get the training, she and other CHWs, they come back together and they help us to get in the community and help, whether it's, we did a lot of homeless projects last year under Ms. Sherry's leadership and others, our CHWs. And anyway, so that's why I wanted to not just mention her, but the whole community health worker movement. It's a big deal. The formalization of it, rather. Let me say it that way.
Well, before you introduce Paris formally, let us say thank you to Sherry Tahid as well, because we certainly appreciate your being with us, but please go right ahead.
Amen. So as Mr. Boyd, he was mentioning the Smart Club and some of the leadership that we do. I was in a meeting about a week or so ago with Miss Paris and Miss Breglin and Miss Tierra. They're 3 young leaders that I've done some work with. And the thing that really made my heart so happy, I told my daughter this, that in that meeting, they were just kind of asked, what do they love about some of the work we had been doing or whatever. And they said they just loved the fact that really for the past couple of years, they've been able to be introduced to the community, the Kansas City community. They've been able to meet people like the Mr. Boyd, the Mr. Walkers, the Nunleys, just everybody that they've been able to come in contact with through a lot of their work. And these are young leaders. They come out of school. That's great. Okay, good. I got my degrees and everything. But then we want them to get into the community and just work without introducing them, passing the batons, all that stuff. And when they said out loud, unprompted by me, I mean, like, that's what, and they each said it. And I was like, oh my God, okay, God. Then, that leadership, how are we training up our older leaders? Because then they're the ones that they every day in different programs, it's, I train them, work with them, and then they really do the work with the young people. Miss Paris does ACT. She went on the HBCU tours. That's why I was wanting her definitely to come on today. She was
Good.
our rep. You train them up and then you say, hey, older young leader, go represent well. She did excellent. And we're so proud of her because if
I
we don't
can.
train them up, then how do we know? Anyway, Mr. Boyd, please, because I can talk, so I'm
I
excited.
know.
So,
I
I'm sorry.
understand. Believe me, and that gives me an opportunity. Thanks for the setup for me to offer a shout out to the young people who are at the Youth Resiliency Center of Synergy Services.
Yes.
This is indeed a homeless shelter. And I get an opportunity working with the young people to do group sessions. And Valencia brought us the title of the session that I have with young people is Please Teach Me You. Now, what I am suggesting is that I am now a proud octogenarian, that I was 17 years old in 1959. Therefore, we're talking about some of the differences, but I am gratified to be able to learn from those young people. And when I say a shout out to them, I mean that I am very pleased and proud to have the opportunity to be working with them. But the context, Attorney brought us, is that the young people are very kind to us. They are very nice to us. And the young people about whom you are speaking would say that they're glad to be introduced to the community. But us let them know how gratified we are to be introduced to them.
Right.
And when I say, please teach me you, my relevance is tied up in my association with the Paris Hollies of the world, with the Tiaras of the world, because it helps us to keep in touch. It helps us learn to ask the right questions, and it helps us to help them feel comfortable correcting us even when we are not right, but forming this partnership. So wanted to give that shout out. Want now, Attorney Valencia brought us to bring in our sister Paris Holly.
Okay. So, Miss Paris, I know you had just so much information to share on the HBCU tour when you went last year. And thank you seriously for, being here today. I know we had a busy
Yes.
morning already. So thank you for, again, doing you and, just coming on, sharing a little bit with us today because the 2023 Alpha's sponsored HBCU tour is coming up. And the best way for us to, of course, tell not just the young people, but the parents and stuff about it is for not just the kids who went, but chaperones who went and what do they have to look forward to and would just tell us anything you can about when you went and then I'll talk just a little bit about later about where we're going to go next year, meaning the students who go. So please share in any way that you'd like about your experience last year as an HBCU tour chaperone and participant, please.
Okay, hello everybody. And again, my name is Paris Holly. Before I touch on the chaperone piece, I will say shout out to you, Mr. Boyd, for working with Synergy. Synergy is definitely a wonderful organization because myself, when I first moved out here, I stayed in Synergy House while I was homeless. And they do have very great organizations set up for some of the younger kids to get back into things to make sure whether they're working or they're a part of the community in some way, shape, or form, and they still either feel like kids, like they should have that opportunity to, but also get them whatever counseling services and things of that nature that they may need. So I
Thank
do think what you're doing
you.
is great.
I did not realize that, but thank you so very much. And I will ask those at YRC to play this program back. But please, I thank you so much. And please go right ahead.
Okay, so what was that? March? I think that was March. I don't know. This year's going by so fast. I feel like March was yesterday. Um, I had the opportunity to be one of the chaperones on the HBCU college tour, and we went to Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina. We stopped in one of the HBCUs in the HBCU in St. Louis. I apologize because me and names right now, I'm terrible to be able to name all the the schools for you. Um, but it was an amazing experience. We stopped at what was it, Penn Center along the way, so some of the students got to really have like a deeper just understanding of where we're coming from as Black people, being getting our education, our knowledge, seeing we weren't really disadvantaged in certain ways because we were segregated. Um, so I don't know. That was really interesting. A lot of the students had the opportunity to actually stop and interview, whether they were in sports or anything of that nature, with that department to see what they needed. Some of them got offered, the opportunity to send over their stuff, and maybe they'll be able to go there, get to play with the team. One of the girls who I took for her personal interview, she did volleyball, and the volleyball coach was telling her all of it, like, you need this, you need that, here, if you guys will be here tomorrow, come play with the team, this is what time we do it. We didn't have the opportunity to stay that long. We visited, I think, 10 schools in a week, so we were moving and grooving. But it was a very wonderful opportunity. Even I myself, because I didn't have that familiarity, if I'm saying that correctly, with HBCUs. Yes. And, it was a deeper aspect of culture. Going to a predominantly white school is a totally different feel from an HBCU. Just totally different. It's home in a whole nother sense that you don't even realize that you're missing, because you could be unapologetically Black. And it's a very beautiful thing and a beautiful nature that I think more students, Black and white, probably need to observe to see what the difference is. When it's like you could see intelligent young Black minds and older Black minds really like have an issue, but it doesn't just resort by violence. It's like we have an issue, but we still know how to conduct ourselves and be positive for other students, as well as just like, here, this is a happy nature. Like, I'm over, what did he say? He was in like 120 organizations, I swear. And it reminded me of me when I first started JUCO. Wow. And he was like, I'm the president of this and that and that and that. And I still work on campus and I do this. And the kids were like, are you okay? Do you, like, how do you function? He was like, because I do it. He was like, I attend parties too. I help plan them. And, we got to see the guys come out and step. And it was just so amazing to see the kids' faces light up, even through doing the career kitchen, or even on my personal time. I went to Worlds of Fun. I've seen these kids and they're like, hey, Miss Paris, how are you? I was on the HBCU tour. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, how are you doing? It was like, that was so helpful. Like, I'm going next year. They're like, I can't wait to see the other schools, the other opportunities that they have, just the culture, the nature. And, even down south, we had a few different experiences with like racism and things of that nature. And the students carried themselves so wonderfully. And it was amazing to see, like, they still get to see the aspects. This is really happening. This is real life. This is what's happening in the South. But this is also a place where you get to go and be you and explore what you want to be and who you want to be, and how it will still fit into the everyday world we live in now without having to always put on a mask.
Right. I cannot express adequately how pleased I am and proud I am of Paris Holly and Attorney Broadus. My understanding is that she does work with young people younger than she. Now, the reason that's important from an educator's perspective, and I think, Paris, you might remember my mentioning that I started teaching in 1964. How long ago was that? And one of the things that we say in the profession often is young people learn more by example than they do by instruction. And Paris Holly is the example for so many young people whom she has not even met, but they know who she is because they have observed how she does what she does. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Keep on keeping on. Please, Valencia Brothers.
One of the things, as Paris, she touched on it a little bit. It was really exciting when she came back, and because she did like a little bit while she was there, but she was really, part of the chaperone team. So she was really focused on, taking care of the young people, not just the two we had, but she had like she had to take care of others too. Like she didn't even know
Exactly.
them, so we didn't talk a lot while she was away, but when she got back, her just telling us that how it impacted her
Yes.
also.
Yes.
Even she's when she graduated, she had like been places. She had moved to South Dakota, different places. So she had done things, but like she mentioned, the exposures and the culture and seeing all these different people that they went with. There was like a bunch of them, that went, the kids and the adults and all different just ways of people, some, affluent, some not, just everything. It was just such a great mix.
Well,
So I just remember when she was telling us that, man, it was so much, but she learned so much. And that was like, we're not too old to learn. And the kids, I'm sure, seeing her be excited about new stuff, and that gets them excited. And but I
Oh
know
yeah, me and the
she
kids had a very interesting perspective because at first they thought I was one of them. And they had a rude awakening because I'm like, no, like I will definitely have no problem, inserting my authority where it needs to be. Because they're high school kids, they want to live and have fun, and they're away from home, but they also had to understand the seriousness of us being away from home does not mean you can act any way, shape, or form, because
ooh,
you also represent your family, you represent us as a tour, you're representing Kansas City, Missouri when you step outside of this state, when you step outside of this city, and just letting them know the importance of everybody who came out to speak to us, that they didn't have to take time out of their day to do this. They didn't get paid for that. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
you guys need to make sure you listen, you embrace all of this. And there was only, I think, only one kid. He wanted to test it, and he wanted to try to talk on the phone while somebody else was talking. And I was like, I will take your phone right now. God. And since I have like 3 phones on me at all times, everybody was like, oh my God, she's just the most meanest person ever. She's been taking everybody's phones until we got back on the bus, and it was like, oh, those are all your phones? And then they were just happy all over again. It was like, so you are kind of nice. And, they were very, even the kids, like, I'm not a big huggy person outside of like my kids, and that's still kind of iffy sometimes. I'm just not affectionate like that. And the kids, they gave me like big hugs, and some of these kids are like taller than me, and I'm 5'9". I'm not that short, you know what I mean? They like bear hugged me in, was like, oh my gosh, we're gonna miss you, and things of that nature. I was like, oh, this is interesting. It's weird, but okay, I'm happy you guys had a great time.
look, this is so wonderful. As a matter of fact, you are such an inspiration. And let me tell you, and Valencia brought us something I was going to mention. We were talking about Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity, and you're going to tell us more about their involvement later. But I wanted to mention that in my lifetime, one of the greatest honors, other than getting and being married to wonderful Wanda Boyd, in my lifetime was being allowed to speak, to give the eulogy for Carl Evans. That Carl Evans was a member of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity. And I was going to mention, I'm a Kappa man. I made Kappa February 18th, 1961 at 2:44 p.m. in Chicago, Illinois. I hold a chapter and all of that. But I was going to say that such fraternity brothers of his, Alpha men, Mike Hughes, David Griffin, who used to be the principal at Van Orn High School. We wanted him to become the superintendent here. Curtis Rogers, who was exemplary at Fairview, and Emmanuel Cleaver, and cannot leave out Leon Dixon. And then when Paris started talking about the behavior of young people outside of home, it brought to mind that Wanda and I were blessed to be able to take 29 students and 13 chaperones for a 3-day, 3-night visit to Chicago. Donald Maxwell at one point was the president of the Generation Rap Youth Advisory Council. The young people who were going to Chicago attended a meeting for them and their parents. And when it came time for me to tell them about what was expected of them when they went to Chicago, I said, please allow me to have your attention. Be who you always are. And I sat down. And their behavior was exemplary. And when I think about young people's exposure to Paris Holly and her being able, with another kind of audience, not only to help them as it regards their behavior, attitudes, and all of that, but their respect for her grew immensely. And then you end up with, thank you for putting us in our place when it was necessary. And thanks for retrieving our phones. But at any rate, let me turn that back over to you, because I opened it up. I will let you carry on that discussion.
To Miss Paris? Yes.
Well, yes, to either of you, both of you. Please go right ahead, Paris.
I will definitely say those young people, they're very smart.
Yes.
They have such a huge future. All of the young people that I have the opportunity to work with, they come from all over. Now, see, we weren't privileged enough to have 13 chaperones to 29 students. There was 6 of us to 70 students on 2 buses.
So I had a lot of help.
Yeah, you had a lot of help, and it was interesting though. Like, they all have their own attitudes, their goals, aspirations, dreams, everything. And I will definitely say, because I made sure I participated in the nightly checks, make sure all the students were in their room, and you just learn so much more about them, because they at first they're shy, they don't want to talk to you, they may not say anything, or they're super outspoken. And as you see them in their rooms with people who they may have never been around, you just see them flourish into other little individuals, and it's just like, oh, that's so cute. We have one rapper. I'm really intrigued to see how his rap career turns out, but it's just like,
that's good.
It's amazing, and they're just very intelligent students, and majority of them know how to carry themselves nicely and ask the questions that even maybe I wouldn't have asked at their age when speaking to some of the people who they spoke to that are on such like high calibers, and all of the athletics, the different programs that they participate in, because a lot of them are in like 3 different sports. So like I play track and football and whatever else. So just like, wow, it's really,
that is so good,
amazing, because I wasn't a part of some of those things when I was in high school. That wasn't my focus at all. So I
if I can
really enjoy it.
I'll put a pin right there just for a second in regards to not just what the alphas and the tour, and I'll mention not just the places, but some other things that they're doing, is Miss Pierce speaking about the athletics part made me reminded me, and then made me make sure I want to say that for a lot of these colleges, not just these that they went to last year and visited, and the ones here, but all over the country, they are now reinstituting the ACT requirement. And what we have found in my doing career clubbing for the past 20 years is that we have a lot of our students, they are awesome behaviorally, they can do the sports and all that stuff. And sometimes they're still not getting into college because they don't have the ACT scores. And I know that a lot of people were really happy when they did away with the ACT, requirements and everything during the pandemic. However, even with that, that impacted their ability to get scholarships and stuff. So we still wanted students to take it. And one of the things that Ms. Parrish, she is one of our ACT instructors. We do ACT prep year round to help all of our career club students to, do well on the ACTs, because even going to on these tours, and we take kids, the different colleges, as well, but we can get them there. But if they can't get the ACTs they need, then they still can't get into schools. So I'm gonna give kudos to Paris for being one of our instructors, but then also want to definitely share that what the alphas have done with the tour. They not only, of course, take the young people on the tour, but they've started a whole lot earlier, like there's a test in December, ACT exam. And so they're actually doing ACT prep. And they've done that for a couple of years now, as I've watched, but they're definitely being more intentional about getting the kids to, do the ACT prep. It's free, for them, so
Wow.
that then they have some time. They have that December test to try to do great, to at least get that 18, 19, because even with your athletes now, the schools are clear. They haven't for at least the past 5 years, when we were getting my grandson in school, that if the students don't have at least an 18 in reading and math, they're not letting them in. They don't care what's happening. That's how we got a lot of our students in the ACT prep with Dr. Eddie and Mr. Evans, and as they were helping us do a lot of that. But a lot of the athletes that were trying to get in, schools were wanting them, but they couldn't get that ACT, so they had to wait. So I'm excited that the alphas, that's real intentional now that they're doing that. They do ACT prep, I think October, November-ish. They take the December exam, that also give all the students wanting to go on the tour an opportunity to take it again in February if they didn't get what they want in December, So it's amazing, because we want the kids to be able to really go, because they give, the
Absolutely.
schools give scholarships on the spot and everything.
Yes,
But they
that's
got to be
another thing
ready.
that Alpha's
Yes.
made sure that they're intentional about, because they know they give scholarships and stuff on the spot, making sure they have that test, so when they come, they're prepared. When like a
Yes.
few of the students had everything they need, like here's my ACT, even though it wasn't required, a lot of the students still took it because it's a way to help you stand out, especially if your GPA is not there. And if your GPA is not there, like some of them don't realize you have to stand out outside of sports, because what makes you different from this other person who has the exact same average as you? If you're not standing out academically. Academics is important. You will get benched. The volleyball coach at, oh my gosh, I wish I could remember the name of the school. I think we were in Florida. I think it was FAMU. All I know is the volleyball coach, she was like, look, if your academics aren't there, I will bench you immediately, and I will call your parents, and then we will all sit down and have a conversation about what to do to make sure you're better, because she said, I want to make this feel like home to a certain extent. Like, I'm not going to call and snitch on you for everything, but if your academics aren't where they need to be, there's no point in you being out of here wasting space or a scholarship that could be for another student. So they're not playing with any of the new coming students, especially even if they're coming to visit. They're giving it to them raw, and they appreciate that. They like that.
Yes. Now, before I tell Paris another story that she will like, I pray, let me remind those who are with us that this is Waive Your Grades. My name is Carl Boyd, your civilian host of Wave Your Grades, American students striving for excellence in honor of our troops. We are blessed on every first Saturday of the month to have not just representatives from the SMART Club, but the SMART representatives of various organizations, sponsored by, hosted by, guided by attorney Valencia Broadus. And we have with us now, not for the first time, Paris Holly as well. But I said that I would tell you a story again that I think you will appreciate, that I think you will like. And by the way, I mentioned Don Maxwell being the president of the Generation Rap Youth Advisory Council back in the 1990s, but the Chicago trip, Jason Gines was the president of the Youth Advisory Council at that time. But Paris, Valencia, let me tell you the story. Two of the young ladies who wanted very much to go were having to miss the trip because their ACT exams were coming up on the Saturday when we would still be in Chicago. It was regretful because I wanted to take them, introduce them to Reverend Jesse Jackson, C. DuSable High School, the Museum of Science and Industry. They were not going to be able to go. In preparing, the young ladies said, "Oh, we're going." And I said, we're going to be in Chicago. They said, "Yes." I said, "So you got your exam delayed?" They said, "No." They knew the high school we were going to visit. They called ahead, made arrangements to take the exam while we were in Chicago, Illinois. Okay. And needless to say, they acquitted themselves superbly. But I thought, what kind of initiative was that? That was just great. And of course, they did well. But so tell us more.
And we had some students do some of the similar things. Those two students, two female students who are going for basketball, and one of their friends was unable to come on the trip, and they did all of their research on top of like their friend did research on who they needed to talk to, and they just happened to be in the same department, so they made sure they conference called their friend. Mind you, I'm sitting here there. I was just like, this was my very first. We're coming in to meet with the sports person for whichever student needed it, and they were like, "Look, I understand this was supposed to just be a meeting for me, but my friend did not have the opportunity to come, and I have this, and this. Do you have their information? And if they are here, can I call them and get them on the phone so you could talk to them as well?" They are making sure they don't miss out and they get as much information as possible. And it's wonderful to watch and see because they want it. They're hungry for the knowledge, and they're not going to be denied. They have the opportunity. They're going to figure it out.
Listen, now Valencia brought us, and I know that I promise Paris and I are going to let you talk. But
no, y'all don't have to, because I wanted her to talk.
She has just inspired so many things, but I just wanted to mention that I'll call it number 3. The 7 principles of the Nguzo Saba from Kwanzaa. When we talk about Kiswahili and we say umoja, kujichagulia, ujima, ujama, nia, kaumba, imani. Number 3, ujima, is collective work and responsibility. The reason that is so important while we are talking about historical Black colleges and universities is it is an Afrocentric quality to work together. That is called collective work and responsibility. And here you have Paris Holly on point, not just being the exemplar, but also being the sponsor, also being the provider for opportunities where if we can't do it by ourselves, we call on each other, we help each other, we learn from and for each other So I just appreciate Paris being the kind of example because, and I am not saying this facetiously, I mean this very sincerely. I honestly feel that those who have served in the military in the United States of America are due a return home from deployment that is far more peaceful and more productive than where they were deployed outside of the United States. When they return, and the reason that I had this program, they need to meet the Paris Hollies of the world so that they know that they have not served in vain, that they are coming back to young people who are serious. Too often when you hear about something called, quote, urban education, unquote, there are those who suspect that we're talking about the Black community and they just don't do well. Well, let's turn that around. I'm a member of Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity, but my Alpha brothers are helping to turn that around and to say to the world, oh no, we have much to be thankful for and much to show for the efforts that have been made. And I'm going to turn it back over to Valencia Broadus by reminding us, those of us who are older than Paris Holly, that we have collected data. And the data that we have seen at least 12 years ago, and I think that it has not changed that much in the 12 years, showed us that Black leadership, just about 81, 82%, up to 90% of Black leadership were those who had matriculated in HBCUs.
That's
And
right.
here that tradition is being called upon and going on. So congratulations to the Alpha Men, and Valencia, please go right ahead.
It's interesting, as you mentioned, that matriculation of doctors and politicians and lawyers. A huge part of, especially the leadership in a lot of the areas, scientists are coming from the HBCUs, and well, did. And so
Yeah.
then I'll say in the past, again, it's probably 10 years, we heard a whole lot of information about the HBCUs declining, meaning the membership and all that, but even institutions themselves, because they weren't able to be maintained enough financially, as far as the endowments and all that
So
stuff.
that's
So
exactly the year I'm talking about, please.
yes, so it's not that, for lack of the excellence, but excellence costs, and just like how we graduate and all that, and, giving back in our times, talent, and our treasure, that's
Yeah.
been a big deal. So people like Tom Joyner, all sorts of people, really started doing efforts to not just try to get students to go there, but what would happen a lot is students would visit the HBCUs. A lot of our students, would visit, and they would say they're raggedy, they're this, they're that. So they wanted to go to the minority institutions because they were nicer and cleaner, etc. So you have to remember, a lot of our students, when they were seeing it, they weren't seeing the glory in it, because think about how society has made everything has to be beautiful and pretty. It's not about, the content. So I want to do that for a minute. So then the past couple of years with Deion Sanders, let's just do that for a minute, with Deion Sanders, kind of becoming a coach at one of the HBCUs and basically pulling these athletes out of the mouth of these majority institutions. And as far as playing on the football and stuff, it's just been amazing, because there's been that resurgence of HBCUs. Like, so what's Deion Sanders doing? And people that would normally go to students that may have may have gone to other majority institutions, they're picking HBCUs again. And so you can tell the tide is turning back to where our children are paying attention to HBCUs, which is amazing. We're promoting them again. We're teaching there again. Even the adults, we're interested. I didn't go to HBCU, but I didn't know about it. No one ever told me about HBCUs. And Lincoln was right, next to Columbia, Missouri. Never I didn't know about HBCUs, but so as we're doing that, as we're kind of finding ourselves again and our greatness and what we used to have, doing that research, we're like, so saying it, okay, so I'm putting that in that perspective for a second. And then of course we have our, our divine nine. We understand about culture and the brotherhood and the sisterhood, no matter where we went to school, because we had that Black experience, because we were in these fraternities and sororities. So we're, whether it's Alpha, Sigma Gamma Rhos, Kappas, AKAs, we already felt some of that. And now we get to still talk about, the pledging, fraternity sororities. And then with the emergence back of HBCUs, it's exciting just to see us be excited about ourselves again. I guess that's really where I was going. It's like,
Well, let me tell. I'm
yes,
sorry, go ahead.
it's great.
Let me tell you
Oh.
something you make me mindful of that is extremely important to where this program is concerned. I said, this is Wave Your Grades emanating from the W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center, Kansas City, Missouri. One of the founders of the W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center, Alpha Man Leon Dixon, is not just a leader and not someone who will counsel. And you've heard me say this, and many people will recall that I often say this: trying to catch Leon Dixon without a book is like trying to catch fish without a hook. He is so learned, but he is not an intellectual who is distant. He is a person you can talk to. And one of the conversations he and I have frequently is the role of the Pan-Hellenic Council. As a Kappa man, I would be remiss if I did not arrange 4 times in future programs to talk about what we are doing. But more and more, it is less in isolation, and the Divine Nine are trying to find ways to work together. And Sister Paris, one of the things that we used to say many years ago about the college experience is, while indeed we go to college to learn from an academic standpoint, one of the most important things about college is who you meet there. And so,
I believe that.
Oh, please go right ahead, Paris.
Oh no, I was saying I believe that. Even the event today for ownership, home ownership, some of my friends who I met in college from out here, they joined in. They came, and we literally just had a Facebook post that showed like, hey, wow, we met each other like 10 years ago and we're still good friends. We have Friendsgiving and all of those things, and we're really cool. I didn't have that opportunity to join the Divine Nine, and I am the only person who is a chaperone who is not a part of any sorority, fraternity, anything like that outside of the International Honor Society I was in at the JUCO. So I had the opportunity to stay in contact with a couple of the sisters from the sororities, and we hang out outside of that. So that different sisterhood that I'm being privy to is interesting in itself, because that's not something I really knew about. And it's just really amazing. It's a different type of networking that is beautiful. And I even got the opportunity to there was a Black Wall Street event that I attended shortly after the HBCU college tour. So I got to learn more about Black Wall Street, and just I'm able to network differently in a different category with my own people that I just wasn't aware of even existed until I started to become more familiar. Yes. Exposure. It's all about exposure.
Yes.
And before you leave, Ms. Prince, I want to share just quickly, because I've told my daughter this as well. She went to UMKC. She did not pledge or anything like that. But there's grad chapter. So I just want to make sure I'm going to put that out there. Even if you don't pledge and all that stuff in undergrad, you can, in graduate chapters, you can still, you know, because we're grown and all that, and you can meet people and you can still, you know, join and stuff. So we'll talk about that later if you want to, but it, we can, you know, the opportunities are still there because it's so key for us, you know, to have the socializations. And for me, you know, when I was in school, Summa Gamma Road, they were my family because it's me and my two little kids, and I'm on Mizzou's campus, and they became my family because I didn't know college. And anyway, so it's whether we're there and older, opportunities there. I just wanted to make sure I say that because I know you said you didn't have a chance to.
That is pretty remarkable that you mentioned Sigma Gamma Rho, because I was going to mention how proud and pleased we are to have as a superintendent in Wyandotte County, Anna Stubblefield. And when Anna Stubblefield was Anna Butler when she was in school, one of the sororities, not singularly, not exclusively, but Sigma Gamma Rho was one of the sororities that was so proud of this young lady when she was matriculating, that they were helpful as she was moving through high school and through college. And now we beam with pride, not just because she ascended to that superintendency, but because she's good at what she does. She is an excellent person and had that exposure as Paris is having exposure now. And yes, I'm with you. The Paris don't pass up some of the grad opportunities, but the alumni chapters as well. So thank you very much, Valencia Brothers, for mentioning that. Now I have a question for Paris Holly, and please take me seriously because you inspired me to ask this question. But are you working on a book of your experiences? And I'm saying this not for Paris, but for those of us who will benefit from reading it.
It's really interesting you said that, because what was that? Wednesday night, I had a conversation with my brother, and it was just some of our experiences that we've gone through since high school. And I was a student, mind you, out in high school, I was not the greatest student. All I cared about was making my money, and when I leave, that was my mission. And attendance, ended up having to go to an alternative school, all types of things. Still graduated early, started college while I was in high school. Like I did a lot. But are recognizing that a lot of
Are you staying close to the microphone? You're coming in and out. I'm sorry. This is a.
Did we lose her?
Gotcha. And I hope you guys can hear me here
We
because of COVID.
we lost you.
I think it is mine. Oh, okay. Can you guys hear me now? Is a real question.
Yes, we can.
Okay. So I wasn't the best student, mind you. I went to alternative schools. I still got in college early, graduated with my high school diploma, everything like that. And me and my brother just spoke on, there's a lot of our friends who didn't make it to see our 10-year, 11-year high school reunion. So what are we going to do for that next generation? Because we're aware of certain, like, you know, kids are having kids younger, and there's just a totally different generation that sees everything. How are we still going to make sure we give back the knowledge that we have? Because that stuff isn't being translated anymore.
Wow.
Through stuff where, like, your dad may have been a mechanic, so he showed you how to do this, so you just passed it on. That's why there was that general knowledge there. We don't get that anymore. Like, we really just don't get that anymore. And so we were just talking about like ways to do that. And while I was taking a shower, I was really thinking, like, I wonder if I should write down some of my experiences, because even in the last, let's say, 3 years, I've gone through a significant amount of stuff that if a person on the was to see me and I told them this, they would think it's a joke. And
Wow.
it's there. So I really went down some of my experiences to inform people, but I have a problem also thinking about how would this affect somebody else. Even as simple as the new Netflix series that came out, everybody's talking about how they didn't reach out to the people who also was affected in that process, and it brought up different traumas. Because I know the thing.
We lost you again.
We lost you again.
We're very sorry. But let me say this to Valencia Broadus. Now, I've got to find out what ingredients you put in your vegetables, or what is.
I was speaking about.
We were missing you, and I was going on to say something to Valencia Broadus, and please.
Other
Not sure if she can hear us.
So
yeah, she might not be for me.
Unhinging a whole nother person. Oh, I think my.
Yes.
Okay. No, thank you. I think we actually lost her.
Yes. Now, and she's back, but let me just say what I was getting ready to say to Valencia Broadus, and this was so funny to me because it was a couple of months ago. I was suggesting that listening to Miss Braylon, she would be a fantastic talk show hostess. And now I'm listening to Miss Paris, and I'm thinking she would be a fantastic talk show hostess. Now, when I think about the young people to whom you have introduced me over the years now, there is a formula, or there are formulae that Valencia Broadus is administering that a lot of us don't have, to introduce us to this caliber of young person consistently, that I have to encourage you to keep on doing what you're doing, give us more of it, and seize upon even more frequent opportunities to have the world meet these young people. And I think there was one other topic. We're already, Valencia brought us, it's 1:54 p.m. Can you imagine?
So I think we're gonna have to come back next week or something if you'll let us. I do want to just briefly just mention for people who are listening that the HBCU tour, there's, and I'll bring the, anyway, so some of the places that we're going to go to this year, 2023, Kentucky State, Virginia Union University, Virginia State, Hampton University, Norfolk State, Morgan State, Georgetown, Howard, and Lincoln University. It's March 20th through 26th. The reason I'm mentioning it now, even though I know it's in 2023, is because there are some pieces to the workshop that you've got to do some signing up, only paying $75 right now to save your student space.
Is that right?
Yeah, so the Broadus Law Office, we are going to be sponsoring some of the students that we worked with over the summer in our career kitchen. But we also want to just tell everybody to take advantage of this opportunity for the kids to be mentored, not just by the alphas, but by the other people who are helping them to do the workshops. There's going to be a career exposure fair in October they're doing it. And Mr. Boyd, I'll send you just this flyer and everything as well. Yes. But then in November, the ACT prep, that they're going to be making sure that they're preparing the kids. December, they will take the exam to see what they get. And then, on and on and on. Pay $75 now, to sign up by, I think it's October 22nd, but I'll send more information, and we'll come back next week if Mr. Boyd has time for us to tell a little more. Maybe we can get Donald Maxwell or some others too to join us, because this is serious stuff. Yes. And the main thing that I do is I'm a train the trainer. And so I'm a mentor coach. So I train all my leaders to be mentors. So I spend a lot of time with them, mentoring them, showing them what mentoring looks like, showing them what guidance looks like. And then I give them students to practice with. So it's a tiered level. And so it's like they do with teachers, but we have to train these young leaders who are excited, we have to train them to mentor and show love consistently. So I model what I would like them to do with students by I spend time with them and talk to them a lot, ask them lots of questions and stuff. That's what I do. So
Okay, well, let me tell you an announcement that we will be making within the next couple of weeks. If not next week, I think probably the third Saturday. But Stutes for Boots is the sponsor of our Wave Your Grades program, and Stutes for Boots is a 501c3
yes.
academic patriotism organization. And I use the term organization because we are busy. But one of the things that I am working with BFW Auxiliary Post 8100 on is an essay contest. And young people get an opportunity to earn from $500 to $5,000 in the national contest. But
Okay.
that is with the BFW Auxiliary Post 8100. Stutes for Boots will begin to offer tutorships so that we will be raising funds for what I am terming tutorships, because it is not funds to go to the school, to the college, but to the mentors and the homes who are helping young people beyond what they're getting in the classroom. I want to make sure that immediately the W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center is on that list,
Yes.
that the Smart Club is on that list, that others that you might recommend, because I would love to be able to change the statement from go big or go home. I want young people to go big when they go home.
Right.
And you want to help the home help them. So you will be hearing more about that.
Yay. Because we want to keep our tutors like Miss Paris busy, but it costs. I mean, she's got kids and stuff, and we can volunteer, but we got to be careful. We got to make sure that.
So we want to give tutorships. Where can young people go, feel comfortable, and then once engaged, be able to stay engaged and not have those interrupted? We are already at the end of the hour. Any closing remarks from Valencia Brothers?
Gosh, y'all, it's great to be reconnected. Get to see you, Mr. Boyd, and
thank you very much.
Just real excited. And I'll tell Miss Paris, thank you. We want to come back, please, and we want to do all we can to spread just the word about people being at least checking out the tour, this tour or any other tour. Just check it out, expose your kids, because they will rise to our expectations, but we got to have some.
Thank you very much. Nobody rises to low expectations.
That's right.
So that is important. To students across the USA, your Stutes for Boots message for this day, October 1st, they protect you with their lives. Please respect them with your learning. My name is Carl Boyd. Thank you, Valencia Brothers. Thank you, Paris Holly. Thank you, Louis George Walker. Gracious God and wonderful Wanda. I'm on my way home.
Amen. Thank you all. Good to see you.
Wow, that was great. And as you said, and thanks to Miss Paris Holly.
Yeah, it's good stuff. All right. Bye-bye.